Good evening once again, and good to have you back. We've been off air, as you know, for the last 2 weeks. Hopefully, the little gremlins that crept into the system have been sorted out. I've been assured that they have. So it's good to be back. And even though it is 1st of April, April Fool's Day, this is no April Fool's Day program. We are live and exclusive. And great to have you back, Keith. And thank you very much for your patience for the last couple of weeks. Goodness gracious. And by the way, we go out live on Facebook. You can get us on facebook.com/Hanging Judge Ref. You can also get us on YouTube. So, and also if you like to, if you can't watch this evening live, you can go back and play back all the other programs from the past. You can play them all back, and we'd love to hear your comments. Likewise, tonight, if you have any comments or questions you'd like to ask either Keith or myself, please do so. On the bottom right-hand side of your screen, there'll be a little thing you slide across, and you can leave your comments there. And we'd love to hear from you. So much has happened in the last couple of weeks. We definitely won't be able to crowd it all in. But what I would like to, and by the way, at the outset, we have to say neither Keith or I criticize referees. We've been there. We know what it's like, how difficult it is. But some of the decisions that are being made by top referees in the Premier League are definitely questionable. So what we try and do is put some meat on the subject, as it were, and try and explain. Now, a couple of weeks back, we had Michael Oliver, who's undoubtedly the number one referee in England in the Premier League. There was a game with Man City and Liverpool, or was it Liverpool, Man City, whichever, they played each other. And in the 98th minute, there was an incident where McAllister was caught on the upper chest with a boot from, I think it was Doku from City, and he gave nothing. Now, it had to be something. It had to be a free kick of some description, dangerous play or violent conduct. Many people were screaming for a penalty. It was the 98th minute. And Michael Oliver gave nothing. I'm comparing that with the Wales-Poland Euro playoff game recently in Wales, where Daniel Orsato must be one of the top referees, certainly in Europe, if not in the world at the moment. And he gave a red card in the 120th minute, the last minute of additional time. And he red carded a Wales player when it was just about to go into penalty kicks. Now, they are giving a red card against a home player and Michael Oliver not giving some free kick against a Liverpool player, which incidentally, if it had been a penalty, could have been the winning goal and Liverpool could have won. And they're crying and saying, well, we dropped 2 points because the referee didn't give the penalty kick, etc., etc. Keith, I'm sure you watched both games. What's your take on it?
Well, it was a clear foul. At the very least, it was a foul.
Yeah.
You can't chase the ball with your foot above waist high of your opponent in the first place. So being kind to the player who made the challenge, Doku, I'll call it reckless at least. It was inside the penalty. Yeah, it was inside the penalty area. It was a clear penalty kick, and it was a very poor piece of officiating. So it was a penalty kick, absolute minimum yellow card. And I could, if I wanted, put a case up for a red. I went yellow because I thought there wasn't the malice in the challenge that I was looking for. And probably I was being a bit soft. But ultimately, at the end of the day, minimum yellow card and a penalty kick.
Not like you, Mr. Hackett, to go soft in your old age, eh?
No, it isn't. I just looked at the challenge several times. I have to tell you that I was watching the game and I was absolutely gobsmacked that nothing was given. So I'm looking for VAR intervention. And then, of course, you start to look and say, not again, because clearly there is a problem between the relationship of the VAR and the referee. They've not got it right. It's not operating in a seamless manner. So in this situation, I feel that whatever the outcome, the very least should have been, referee, go and have a look at the screen, because the decision that you have given, which is nothing, is a clear and obvious error.
And he was looking straight on.
Yeah, well, look, look, we saw Darren England, and I'm jumping slightly ahead, in the Chelsea-Burnley game, in a brilliant position. So there was no question of his movement and positioning. And he sees a challenge which he determines is a foul and a penalty kick. The player's response was nothing at the time other than to look in like amazement, and at which point Darren England produced a yellow card for the foul, not for dissent, and the outcome was it was the player's second yellow, so he went off. So now I'm thinking, where is VAR? Where is VAR? I mean, the referee's dropped a big clanger. It's not even iffy. Even Dermot Gallagher today on Ref Watch, bless his soul, Dermot as well said that this was a penalty kick. So, and a yellow card should not have been applied. So Darren England got it 100% wrong. Oliver got it 100% wrong. These are key major incidents. And I just have to say that I think this is now the worst season that I've seen for Premier League officials since the Premier League was formed. I'm just going
to jump ahead a bit then, Keith, because I have my itinerary here.
Yeah, sure.
Looking down here, refereeing standards generally, are they dropping? Are they low and getting lower? And why?
Well, I mean, this is about leadership. It's about education. It's about accountability. It's about creating a team that's efficient, a team of match officials, the entire group. You're always recognized by your worst performers, not your best. Howard has inherited a situation. One of the key drivers of the change in the past was John Moss, who's gone. We might talk about that later.
Sure.
Mike Riley has had 10 years of decline. It's going to be difficult, we always said, to reverse it immediately. But behind it all, the coaching is not good enough. They weren't the top referees that. And then we look at the fact that there aren't assessors at the game. Everywhere else in the world, generally, assessors sit in the stadium and watch the performance, critique the performance. But everybody thinks, the assessor's there to assassinate the referee. It is entirely the opposite. He's a coach. And that assessor is there to coach the referee. And that might be that when the referee's not done his task, you've got to be very clear and precise as to what you believe is wrong. Then you've got to work with that referee to put it right. And you've got to leave that referee in a good space when he's leaving. Now, the referees are refereeing about 30, 40 games a year. The ones at the top.
Sure.
So it's not overworked. They're professional referees. I mean, they're professional in their approach. It's leadership, and Howard's been in post now for a year. I thought he would come and really shake it up. I thought he might introduce one or two ex-referees. Yes, I know them. They say what they think. You know, they don't hide behind being a yes man or whatever. There's a whole busload of them that need shifting. And, you know, just like a football team, when the football team's at the bottom of the league, you change the manager. And interestingly, when you change the manager, you change generally the entire coaching squad.
Yeah.
And then you'd start to change the players. And we're 1 year down the line, we've not seen much change.
Now, is it this? I'm trying to get this question right now. Just wondering why the standards are dropping. I mean, they were better, well, a bit better in previous years. So why is it so bad this year? Is it that the referees are just lacking the backbone now? And they're so scared of being found out, if you like, as having made a mistake by VAR, which is a bit contradictory, really, because VAR is there to help you correct a mistake. But they're scared to make those decisions, those crucial decisions. As you mentioned about Burnley and Vincent Kompany getting a red card, that all led from an incident, and it escalated there to a player getting a second yellow card, and as a result of that, Kompany made comments and he got red carded. I'm going to jump ahead a bit again because during the week, it's just the tirade of abuse that was levelled at Paul Tierney by Stephen Reid of Nottingham Forest, for which Reid received a £5,000 punishment. That guy probably lights a cigarette with £100. He's got so much money, and so is the club. And the club were fined £75,000, which is appalling. So really, the referees are being beaten down and down and down. And I wonder, are they now scared to make these correct but crucial decisions for fear of the backlash that might come?
Do you know, I've worked with the likes of Jack Taylor, Pat Partridge, Bob Matheson, John Hunting, George Courtney, Peter Willis. I can name them and continue to name those referees. And the one thing that they had was total and utter independence.
Yeah.
I
don't think that's what they have now. I think there's.
No, I agree. I agree. You know, a referee is appointed to control the game. The law supports him, Law 5. And the reality is, Errol, he has to go out across the white line. It's his name. It's him that's in the firing line. And he's got to produce every game in the Premier League is a cup final. 22 cameras watching every move. He's exposed to error. That's why he's got VAR. That's why he's got goal line technology, communication kits. He's got all that support mechanism. And he's got to go out there and say, I'm going to make the decisions. And I think somehow, I don't know about the noise he's getting in his ear, but it seems to me these errors are sometimes born about through a lack of concentration, a lack of courage, and a lack of consistency. And look, it grieves me. I mean, I want England to have the very best referees. You know, we had that in the past. I inherited that. I inherited from Philip Don a group of referees, and I think that I took them on using sports science and expertise. But I was a taskmaster. I was honest with them.
Yeah.
You know, as I write in the newspapers and I talk in this show and everything, I've never changed. I want referees to perform at the highest level. And sadly, look, we take Darren England. He didn't have a good game, right? He didn't have a good game because.
Keith, can I just stop you there, please?
Yeah.
Why did he not have a good game? It's his fault because he wasn't strong enough to make the decisions that were needed to be made. He pulled back or he held back, and as a result of that, he got backlash. If he had made the decisions, he could back it up by saying it was a foul. You'll see it on the replays. End of story. I mean, I wrote this some years ago.
Yeah.
And I even have here advice. I wrote this paper and I presented it to a conference.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, you see something and you make a decision. Just do the job. If you see a guy getting kicked up in the air, it's a free kick and a yellow or red card. But they're pulling back. I think somehow either somebody's getting at them or they're just lacking that backbone and guts to make those decisions. You and I made them in the past and we suffered the consequences, if any. But generally on replays, and I mean, South Africa was a lot more violent as far as refereeing was concerned than England was. And I knew that, but I was met in the streets sometimes 2-3 days later by supporters who had said to me, we would have killed you on Saturday, but now we know you are right. And they'd said, all we want is fair play, a fair crack of the whip. The referees in England now seem to be holding back, and they're so scared to make those crucial decisions, which are correct, like Daniel Osato did in the Wales-Poland game. Red card, 120th minute. He could easily have said, oh, no, it's too close to the end. I won't do it. But he didn't. And that's why he's so well respected. Yeah.
Well, you ask a question. The question that I would pose is this. I think that somebody needs to go through that list of referees at the elite level that are getting paid the 100K a year. And I think that someone's got to say, they're not delivering. Who are we going to retain? And who are we going to move on?
Similar to a team, yeah.
Exactly the same. You know, I mean, I look at Darren England. I think he's got the skill sets to be a top referee. But since he became a Premier League referee, I've not seen him. I've not actually seen him like, you know, I can remember watching Webb. I can remember watching Clattenburg and Halsey and just going, well, where am I going to give these guys advice? Because they were good. And then I watched them the following week. Where am I going to advise? And we started then examining the fitness levels, improvement, all those sort of things. But it was a competitive spirit. Now, we've had a guy on Saturday make a crucial error, compound that error by hiding behind a second yellow card, which he'd no need to give. Not every penalty kick is a yellow card. Not every foul is a yellow card. Then it wasn't denial, so there's no excuse on that. And then I look at the appointments, and this guy on Wednesday evening, with all that baggage of a poor performance, with criticism from generally everyone, he's going to walk out on this week, Wednesday evening, I think, Manchester City versus Aston Villa.
Wow.
Third play, fourth. I'll tell you where I'm sitting. Because he's made such a key major incident error of that magnitude, he would not be refereeing on Wednesday night. He wouldn't be refereeing. Because I think he needs operational advice. I think I'd be saying to him on the phone the day after the match, right, I recognize you've made an error. We've got to rectify that and we need a discussion. I want you to go away for a week. Forget about refereeing. Walk the dog if you've got one. Go to the seaside. Enjoy time with the family. Then come back and we start again. And I think that this is not this is not difficult. We need to there's no consistency running through the group. You know, so as I watched Bond referee, he's a Premier League referee a Football League game today. The number of times he was getting in play, the number of times he was blocking off a potential pass is not what you would expect from an elite referee. And you look at that, and then you look at the Everton involvement where there's a nailed on penalty kick not given. Then you look at Newcastle where they give Gordon a penalty kick. Like Newcastle get a penalty kick and it's a foul the other way. And I look, and in fairness, you know, I've done a fair few podcasts with Newcastle fans, and some of those fans have written to me today to say that they've had a look at that incident. They didn't think it was a penalty on the day. They're now confirming it's not a penalty. And you can't get more ardent fans than Newcastle United, who are actually saying we were lucky to get a penalty kick. So, you know, look, the game's difficult. I think Howard's got to give this leadership. I think he's got to trim the guys down. I think he's got too many. And then, you know, you have too many. And then what you're doing is, I must give them a game. He hasn't had a game for 3 weeks. You know, Darren England, he's had 9 games this season. We're on week 31 of the Premier League. This weekend, middle of this week, week 31, 9 games. What does that tell you? It tells you that somebody's gone, overlook, it can be VAR, overlook, it can be fourth official. If you are the top referees, you've got to be like 20, 25 games at the moment. That's where you want to be. Yeah. And I just look and I look at the tail and I think, are we playing politics here? We brought Sam Allison on. We gave him a couple of games. Where's he gone? We brought Rebecca Welsh on. We had all this great sort of new referee.
Yeah.
2 games. In fairness, she might be injured because I think she was due to do Stoke City today and didn't actually referee that match. So she may well be injured. But, you know, I just get frustrated a little bit by it all because I do think that there are people out there that Howard needs to bring in.
Yeah.
You know,
Brian Wexler is a regular.
Yeah.
Definitely thought the second penalty was not a penalty. If you can't tackle from behind, then how can he come from behind to do what he did and get a penalty for that? Yeah. That's exactly what we're talking about.
Brian, that is a better explanation than I wrote in the newspaper yesterday. That is spot on. You know, so look, the whole objective of this show is to actually open up, be honest how we see it. Yeah. I generally think that what Howard should do, and it's very difficult this time of the season, he needs to get these guys together. He needs to take them away from their regular training venue, be it St. George's. Take them to the seaside and walk the beach or walk the hills, take them to the Lake District or whatever. Get them in the room and get them discussing and actually saying, right, guys, we're in this together. What are we going to do? And then he should have a bag full of video clips that he starts to show. And he says, look, this isn't about having a go about one individual referee and this particular decision. This is about how can you, as an elite referee, make this error? And how can you, as VAR, operate to assist your colleagues? Because at the moment, we know that VAR is a mess. It is a mess. You know, everybody's lost confidence in it. I'm forever explaining the processes. You know, I mean, I can't understand why, you know, at Newcastle or wherever, VAR didn't sort out these poor decisions. Everton, the VAR should have come in. Michael Oliver in his game at Liverpool, Man City, the VAR should have come in. But is that a fear? Is that a fear, or is that one saying, oh, well, it doesn't matter?
You see, I've had lots of comments from people saying that the VAR doesn't want to go against the man in the middle. When in fact, he's not going against him. He's only there to give advice. Be that as it may, Keith, just to speed up the process, would it not be a good idea for when there's a VAR incident that the referee goes to the camera and goes through the incident with the VAR instead of waiting, standing there with his finger to his ear, wasting more time, go to the pitch side monitor immediately and let them discuss it together, like they do similar in rugby. Why can't they do that?
I'm quite clear. I think the only way that we will resolve an issue with VAR in England and around the world, it's already, the World Cup sets the standard, and that is they have a specialist panel of VAR operators. That's what we need in England. We need to convince the IFAB that we're going to operate a big screen and we're going to bring the match officials together on the pitch and they're going to talk through the situation. So everybody's involved. Right? Exactly. So there might be a stepping stone. But what we've got here is we've got VAR, please help me. And then this debate. I mean, I watched Rob Jones look at the screen this week, and I don't think he had time to look at what the incident was. He just scanned it. When I see an incident and I'm unsure about it, it could be a penalty kick, and I've not seen it first time on TV. I'll look at it about 4 or 5 times to justify that decision. Now, that takes me less than 30 seconds. And I understand in Italy, people might correct me, but I think they put about a minute on it in Italy. You've got a minute. And someone texted me this week to say he lived in Italy. He loved watching Serie A and the Premier League. And he said, we do not have the level of controversy in Italy around VAR. The decisions are made quickly. And, the longer the delay to get a right decision, which sometimes doesn't give us the right decision, puts doubt in everybody's mind. Absolutely. And this is what VAR is doing. VAR in England at the moment is undermining the referee.
Yeah, and a big bugbear of mine is that how quickly some of these guys are only in the Premier League and they're suddenly all wearing FIFA badges.
Oh, I mean, I just no wonder people in Europe are saying your referees aren't very good. They're getting FIFA badges, they're going out and having the big games, but you suddenly go, I hope that goes okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a top level sports person, the more you do it, the better you become. I watch athletics, and I watch athletics because I see somebody doing a long jump, I see somebody doing a triple jump or the high jump, and after every jump, they're looking at the stands and they're seeking advice, sometimes reassurance from their coach in the stand. That's what I want. That's what I set up. The coach would go to the game and he would discuss the performance with the referee and he would offer advice, in confidence, without writing scriptures or ticking boxes. I used to say to him, I don't want to know everything. I want you to build up a relationship of confidence in each other, and you've got every right to have the integrity to hold on to some of the information. And if you do that, I can remember I coached a young referee, and he came to me one day and said, look, my career's over. And I've gone, why? Well, I've got a dodgy kidney and I think they're going to take it out. And then I sought advice from a medic, and they said, look, this is not going to affect his performances. He's not going to put him at risk. He can do exactly what. And, when he came back, we built up, the energy levels and those conversations were important in the same way that support to Mark Halsey when he battled cancer was so important. It's more than just refereeing this. It's about building a relationship up. But I'll tell you, I mean, some of the referees didn't get on with me because the bottom lip used to go a bit when I told them the own truth. And it wasn't me being clever. It was me actually having a big planted hand in the middle of the bike, ensuring that they didn't get complacent. Because complacency is a big, I've got the badge, I'm FIFA now, why should I listen to him? I know
Yeah.
it all. I'm wonderful. All these things, you know. I coach one or two referees. I've got a young referee who I liaise with on written on email, and I watch his enthusiasm every game. How he analyses his performance. How yesterday he went to a match and analysed someone else's performance as a referee, and I'm thinking he's picking up all the tips, and that is exactly what we've all done.
Indeed.
You know, for you to get FIFA level, for me to get FIFA level, we used to go to those training camps and look and go, yeah, that's not a bad idea what he's doing. I'll follow that. I'll have a bit of that. And refereeing is a mosaic. I sadly think that we you know, I thought Sam Borough made an error this weekend, and I think that he had every right for the referee VAR to pull him out of the mire. You know, this was the Everton game, and I like this was Bournemouth Everton. He made an error on a penalty kick decision. VAR Michael Oliver. VAR Michael Oliver. If I'm saying that's an error, other referees are saying that's an error. What's Michael Oliver doing and saying? Because at the moment, he might think he's the number one, but he's fast losing it.
Yeah.
There's something not right. You know, I watched Taylor yesterday in what could have been a difficult game. Remember, he lives in Altrincham and all those connotations of that.
Oh, yeah, I
And
know.
I worry about that. But in fairness, yesterday, he kept a standard. And, you know, the commentators said, well, Anthony Taylor's having a good game. And by his standards, all of a sudden, he was communicating with players without a yellow card. And I'm suddenly going, man management coming to the fore here. And I hope that when he steps off that pitch yesterday, he thought to himself it was a better performance than those he put in past games.
He could have perhaps given a penalty to City because I noticed Haaland was having his jersey pulled, not very much, and not enough for him to go flying all over the ground. But nevertheless, it was a tug of the jersey. And if he'd given the penalty, he could certainly be justified in giving it. Now, whether he didn't see it or whether he turned a blind eye to it, don't know.
Well, I think generally there is inconsistency on holding offences everywhere around the pitch. You know, and you know, you get that arm laid on an opponent, you get hands in the face of an opponent, you get a pull. You know, today I watched the Leicester game, and anybody who sees the goal that was scored, not Leicester's goal, the opposition, Norwich scored a goal from a set piece, and what happened was the attacker held the defender and pushed him forward away from the goal and created space for the kicker to score the goal. It was a clear offence. They were all praising the tactical move, but the player, the Norwich player, you know, this was a set piece that was clearly developed. I think I'd seen it. I think I'd seen Manchester City use it as well. But there's the attacker behind the defender, running out, grabbing his opponent and pushing him out of the way. And the space behind was a goal. And I've gone, nobody, I mean, the commentators picked up on it. I just wondered if the referee had. You know, I mean, I'm fortunate because one of my coaches that I had on my team was Roger Dilks. And Roger was a former player with Huddersfield Town. And tactically, his awareness of what players got up to, he would pass on to his referees. And that's why they were better referees for his advice. Because he could talk to them as a former Premier League referee, but also as a footballer. in terms
Brian
of
says, sorry, Keith. Brian says, yeah, when he played, you could never pull a player's jersey or pull a player down. It's ridiculous what goes on now. Well, even today, Brian, you still can't pull a player's jersey, but they're doing it and getting away with it. And that's the sad. I wanted to talk, Keith, but we'll put it over because we're way out of time now to next week. IFAB had their meeting recently, and again, they dabbled in the laws of the game. But we'll talk about those
sure.
next week, Keith.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining. And we'll do it all again next Monday night. And thank you for looking in and for sending in your comments. We'll do it all again next Monday, 8 o'clock.
Thank you.
By the way, the hour's gone forward. So if you're in that zone, you have to put your clocks forward 1 hour. Thank you. Good night, Keith.
Yeah.
Good night.